Nice and calm and quiet Christmas morning. And that's the sun coming up over the mountains way back east, kissing the property. This is looking towards downtown, then over to the west end. Still pretty early, not really anybody out here on the beach. It'll definitely pick up later. All right, Merry Christmas, everyone. Today we're gonna do a little tour, very short tour. Okay, so of course, starting here at Travelers, and we'll probably go up maybe 2 miles, maybe. We'll see. See where the legs take us. I'm not gonna run hard at all today. Did 17 miles yesterday, so definitely taking it relaxed today. But let's get started. Start my watch, and we're going. I realized very quickly that this is probably not going to be the best footage of me running on the beach in terms of the shakiness. Because if I turn my camera around, it's going to get way more shaky. But I will stop and film where and when I can. All right, just ran up by Alfred's. It's maybe like half a mile from Travelers. Used to have a lot of live music. I still think they have live music here, but not what it once was. If those remember what it was like back in the day. But they also have like beach volleyball tournaments, or they used to at least. And I do believe that this is where they're going to be doing fireworks from on New Year's Eve. At least they used to, from that barge out there. All right, Alfred's, let's keep it moving. All right, we're still going here. We're about a mile and a quarter in, up by Margaritaville, and looks like we're gonna hit 2 miles, so I think we are. But hold on, I'll show you exactly where we are. We got Margaritaville, and Travelers is, where's Travelers? Somewhere over there. We'll figure it out. I think it's over there. We'll figure it out. We'll keep going up. Gonna keep it moving. All right, just hit the turnaround points. We are just at Beaches, at the end of Beaches. A little over 2 miles in. Feeling good. Still pretty cool out here. The sun is like not beaming at this point, so it's pretty nice. I think it's around 7:30. I can't check my watch right now, but let me give you an idea of where we are. 1 second. So that's heading back downtown. I don't think you can see Travelers because it's on the bend, but that's where we came from. This is the rest of the beach. So you got Hedonism, then Point Village right at that tip right there, and then of course Booby Cay Island. What else is left here? You basically have Long Bay, which is a public beach. That's where Reggae Marathon ends, so which is like kind of right tucked away over there. And then after that you have Azul, then you have Boardwalk, and there's one in between, but I forget the name of it. And then after Boardwalk is Sandals, and then right next to Sandals is, so that's Sandals right there, and then right next to Sandals is Hedonism, and that pretty much is the end of the beach, so to speak, at least on the northern end. And then you go into Bloody Bay, which is the other 2 miles that I always talk about, which is where the reuse are. And can't really get over there right now. Or I think you have to be staying over there. I feel like you can get there somehow, but I don't know how, like publicly that is. But yeah, this is beaches. This is what we were talking about on the last live stream I did on Wednesday about their new rooms that they have here. And this is gonna be beautiful because like look what you have to look at and wake up to every morning is the ocean. It's like right there all the time. Morning, yes. So yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful view. I don't know which these are or what they are, but like, you know, it's Sandals. Obviously they're gonna do a marvelous world-class job with these things. Maybe we'll get a tour. You know, when it's all said and done, would love to do a tour and see what that view is like and what the rooms and everything are like. But oh wait, you can see, I guess that's like the rendition right there of what they're gonna look like. Let's go take a look real quick. Hope I'm not intruding or impeding, but I always get excited about this stuff, especially when it has to do with Negril and investing here. And like I've been saying, you know, they're obviously seeing a lot of potential and are very bullish on Jamaica and Negril, as am I. All right, a little bit of a rant, but let's get back home. All right, just stopped here at Couples, which is another very nice all-inclusive off the beach here. I believe it's adults only, but definitely couples. It's made for couples, right? And yeah, probably got a mile and a half to the end of the beach, which we're not running that way. We're actually going to be running back down this way. Got less than 20 minutes to go. I'm gonna keep it moving, but this was nice lighting, so I figured I'd stop and share. I forgot that I did a leg workout last night too, after running those 17 miles in the morning. That's really why my legs are feeling a little wobbly. Just sharing where I'm at right now. So a lot of people ask me about where a good vegan place to go is, and this is where I send everybody. Rasta Aid. I've actually never eaten here, but everybody tells me it's really, really good. This is about half a mile up from Travelers, half a mile north from Travelers. A little more than half a mile, yeah. Slightly over half a mile. But cool spot. I'll get here some point and have some food and be able. All right. Sorry to cut you off early on that, but want to get started on this stream. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you all had a good weekend. I know I was supposed to stream on Friday and Sunday, but things got away from me. I was in New York. I actually had to extend my trip unexpectedly, but I'm happy that I did. I got a lot of stuff done in New York, and that is definitely my last trip anywhere before Throp-X. I'm staying put in Jamaica. We got a lot of work to do, but things are coming along very, very nicely. Very, very nicely. The team is working very, very hard for Throp-X this year. Speakers we already started announcing. We're going to announce more this week. They're pretty much all confirmed, but we're just doing a slow rollout. So very excited for that. But as usual, what city, what states, what country are you chiming in from? Always love to hear this. And today's stream, I'm very excited for this. We talked about this. I want to put the article. For some reason, it's not allowing me to. But anyway, as you'll see in the video, this is some of the reporting is based off of the Financial Times coverage of Jamaica, its fiscal policy, its economic growth, its what would I call it? Its magical way, Jamaica's magical way of getting itself out of the economic distress and debt that it found itself in, and shrinking that debt to GDP ratio like crazy. And this video that I'm going to be reacting to kind of goes into the backstory of that. And I think they did a really good job. It's short and sweet. And I think this is right along the lines of our discussion and where our heads are at. Outside of that, a lot of people hit me up about the Negril airport. Is it an announcement at this point? Because we've been talking about it for how long, right? And I know some of you have actually gone into the, what would I say, the consultation community meeting that they had last time, and got the inside scoop and the inside details on where things are at. But it's definitely super, super exciting for Jamaica and very, very exciting for Negril. I think it's like we've been saying, like it's a huge, crazy, crazy, crazy game changer. And in my mind, it really is going to keep Negril competitive globally. And there is a lot of, and I spoke about this before in previous streams, and I'm just going to touch on this quickly before we get into the video. But I spoke on this about before on previous streams about some folks not wanting the airport in Negril and came up with all these reasons. I'm like, man, do you understand how important this thing is? And I think people are really thinking short-sighted, and I don't think they really understand how competitive the hospitality market is globally. You know, we're not necessarily Negril competing against Montego Bay or Ocho Rios or anything like that, but it's Negril versus Tulum. It's Negril versus DR, or different places in Europe, wherever, especially in the Caribbean region. And we gotta be ready for 20 years from now and be ready to make sure that we are as competitive as our competitors are not only in the Caribbean region, but around the world. And having a close airport is so important. Take for Tulum, for example, earlier this year, they now opened their airport in Tulum, whereas it was kind of like Negril. You used to have to fly into Cancun. I was there last October, pretty much a year ago from now. And it was a 2-hour drive from Cancun to Tulum. And now you can fly directly to Tulum and go directly to Tulum and avoid that 2-hour drive. So it's like those kind of things and those kind of, I wouldn't even call it a luxury, more of a convenience than anything else that people are looking for. And it's going to be like normal. Like, you know, people aren't going to want to take a 2-hour hour drive from their airport. And this is like, you know, and then also think about weekend travelers. Negril, I mean, you really get like the adventurous people. But if you think about it, if you're hopping on a flight from, you know, probably anywhere up and down the East Coast to Jamaica, and you only have 2 nights, Montego Bay is your best bet. You know, it's your best bet. It makes the most sense. And you're probably not even going to consider Negril, because you're basically an entire day is dedicated to purely traveling. If you think about it, you have to get to the airport 3 hours early. You're probably going to take 2 to 3 hours to get here, maybe 4 hours on the plane. And then, you know, let's call that 4, 5, 6, call that 7 hours. And then you get through customs, you know, that's at least another hour or so, sometimes longer. And then you have to take a 2-hour drive. I mean, that's your whole day. Your energy sucks. You're not going to do that. Imagine being able to cut that down significantly. And, you know, the drive from Montego Bay, especially now, is not the greatest drive. And when you compare it to Cancun, to Tulum, their road is smooth. It's a highway. It's flowing, like it's easy, you know, like for the most part, I can't remember dodging a million potholes, you know, fortunately, compared to here. So it's important, again, that we kind of understand where things are, and like, don't think of now, think of 20 years, 30 years. Is this going to make Negril, if we stay the same, are we going to be more competitive or less competitive? Is it going to create more jobs and more opportunities, or less jobs and opportunities? And those sort of things. And of course, we want to do this in a sustainable way, and we're taking the environment into consideration in all these decisions. And it's a big part of the equation. I know that's one thing that the consultants and especially Negrilians, if you will, are concerned about, you know, environment first more than anything else. And from what I understand, I didn't make the last meeting. From what I heard, though, from the last meeting that they had, it's going to be a little bit outside of Negril, which I think is so much better. You know, we're talking about 10 to 15 minutes from Negril. I think that is great. That is perfect, because the other thing that was I'm in the first meeting that I was on, that people were concerned about was the traffic that it would create. Imagine putting an international airport on Norman Manley Boulevard. Goodness, and things are backing up already, and here in Negril, as more development happens, more tourists are coming, more businesses are opening up. So it's these things that we got to think about in the long term. But anyway, let's get some comments here, and then we're gonna hop right into the video. What's going on, Phil? Nice to see you. This swept away. He says, "Hey, Throp and Throppers, happy Monday. Happy Monday to you as well." And yes, of course, happy Heroes Day to Jamaica and to everyone. Samuel's chiming in from Brooklyn. Good to see you. Shona, what is going on? Nice to have you on. Please listen to Shona and smash that like button. What's going on, Susan? Thanks for hopping on. Disrupt Away says, I don't disagree with an international airport in theory, but the location is important. Do not disrupt the quiet ambience of the area. Maybe it's somewhere over the West End. And oh, Donna, what's going on? Donna from Ottawa. Okay, good to see you, Donna. Yeah, somewhere over the West End. So they're actually looking at Little London retreat area, which is going towards Sav. All right, might as well show you all here. Now, 1 second. I'm going to bring up the map. And again, this is not confirmed. This is not confirmed. This is like, please take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. With a big, big grain of salt. This is not confirmed where the location is going to be. I am not saying that. This is from what I understand, a consideration of where they are going to be looking at putting the airport. Not confirmed, not confirmed. I want to re-emphasize that. All right, here we go. So this is the map of Jamaica. And then we're going to go all the way to the westernmost point, which is Negril, of course. And this is the 7-mile strip of white sand beach that we all know and love. And then we're moving downtown. Here's a roundabout. And then we're going to start to head east, right? And so we'll go east. We are, and sometimes I get scared. I don't want to give wrong information here. So where is, so this is Negril River, Negril Beach, Sheffield, Little London. Okay, I'm not far east enough. All right, sorry. Okay, so here's a little London area. So somewhere in this region, I know this is like a big region, somewhere in this region, obviously there's, we got mountain ranges, we got a lot of open land here. And so this is where Little London is. And we try to find retreat. You get the idea. So I don't want to point to a specific area, but I just want to show you just how much open land is here. Who owns it? I'm not sure. Maybe it's government land. I don't know, but there is a lot of land, and it just shows the possibility. And I kind of like that because, hopefully, again, as we think long term, you want to think, hey, can we expand? Like Montego Bay, for example, which is beautiful. Whoever decided that location, and then also to have the foresight to expand the runway, because think 100 years from now when none of us are here, right? Who knows what kind of airplanes there are going to be designed. Imagine they have, I don't know if this is going to happen, but imagine like 1,000 passenger airplane, which sounds crazy, right? But imagine that does exist. We would love to be in a position to have 1,000 person airplane, if that's possible. I don't know. Maybe it's rocket ships from SpaceX, right? I don't know. But we'd love we gotta think long term. We gotta think beyond today's current technologies and capabilities. And at the Montego Bay Sanchez International Airport, they did a big expansions to be able to get these wide body planes in here, get the longer haul flights. And I doubt that maybe people thought when they first designed the airport that the planes could only be so big at that time, but thankfully that they thought beyond that, and they're like, hey, let's make it so that possibly in the future we can extend the runway. And so that's what I like about a location like this. It just gives you a lot more flexibility. And as opposed to like if we go up to the current airstrip, so this is the Negril Aerodrome. This is on the northern part of Negril, and there were some calculations done previously in a live stream that I did, talking about the amount of feet required for certain size airplanes for the runway, excuse me. And so we did the calculation based on, if you look at the legend down here in the right hand corner, this amount, this length is 200 meters, and we measured it out all the way. And so there's a couple of hindrances here. And so the Negril River is one of them, but they said they can do it over the runway. They even said that they can do it out into the sea. How expensive is that going to be, right? And so anyway, my point is, like, there's a lot of limitations with doing it here, and then also consideration for the many hotels in this area and how that could be disruptive for the guests there and the beachgoers, and just having airplanes going overhead like that. So I think ultimately it's a good idea to have like a high level consideration for a different location that also gives you possibility of expanding to a longer runway. All right, that being said, let's hop into the video for today. And for those just joining, we are doing a reaction video of I guess you can call it a report on Jamaica and how well it's doing fiscally, and then the backstory as to why that is. And we've been talking about this a lot more so on the macroeconomic level stage, but this is definitely macroeconomics, but it gives a lot of background on it. And so let's see if we can go ahead and do this. Okay, good. Can we get this a little bigger? Nope. All right, I think this is good right here. We'll see. If not, if this is annoying, then I'll switch back to this. All right, we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll start playing. Already, apologies for the ads, because obviously this is on YouTube, but we're gonna roll, and this is on the TLDR News Global channel, and I will put the link in the comment section here, so if you want to watch it on your own or rewatch, you can go ahead and do that. And I see some couple comments on the airport, so let's I'll close out. I'll do quickly respond to these to some comments here. Donna says, have you ever taken one of the Cessnas from Negril Throp? Great pilots. I remember even taking Air Jamaica Express back in the day. LOL. Yes, I have. Back in the day when I was a kid, only once. Me and my dad flew from Negril to Kingston, and like a freaking roller coaster like that. I mean, scariest ride of my entire life. I guess my dad was used to it, but is definitely up and down. A quick, you get there and like it felt like we went up and went down. I don't know how. It was like literally minutes, as opposed to a solid 4 hours, especially back then. There was no highway, and that was the only time that I did it. I think maybe went to see my grandmother, but I just remember it was like me and my dad, and my brothers weren't with me. Yeah, great, but great service. Great service. But that was Air Jamaica, which obviously no longer exists, and there are no longer any commercial flights available from the Negril Aerodrome. Jeff Rogerson says, I go to Negril for peace and quiet. If I wanted planes over my head all day, I would stay in Montego Bay. Fair enough. And I strongly believe that should be respected. And hence why I believe one of the reasons they're highly considering moving or doing the development of the airport in towards the eastern part, Little London Retreat area, and just a lot of open land there. And I think that they'll be avoiding that whole experience. And where the planes are coming in from, I don't think they're going to be flying in from the west. At least to me, the layman, doesn't really make sense to me. it makes sense coming, northeast more than anything else if they're going to be landed. But who knows? I don't quote me on that either. I am no aviation expert whatsoever. What's going on, Chelsea? Donna says 15 minutes. My husband has his private pilot's license. Was impressed by that. Tamar still flies. Okay, didn't know that. Yeah, okay, 15 minutes. There you go. Couldn't really remember how long it took to get to Kingston, but great service when it was in existence. All right, let's hop into the video. And so the title of this video is How Jamaica Became the IMF's Favorite Economy. And let's hop right into it.
This video is brought to you by Imprint. Jamaica and the IMF have a difficult history.
Can everybody hear? Just want to make sure. I know we always have these issues, but I'm going to keep playing. Let me know.
The island has spent most of its independent history under some sort of IMF program. And after its 15th bailout in 2013, IMF officials would begin their meetings with a dark joke. Has Jamaica crashed yet? Today, however, everything has changed. Jamaica has staged perhaps the most impressive fiscal recovery in modern history, with debt-to-GDP halving in a decade, and is now basically the IMF's favourite economy. So in this video, we're going to take a look at how Jamaica became a sort of Caribbean Germany, and what more general lessons there might be available.
I like that. Caribbean Germany. That's so cool that we're being referred to like that in that manner.
Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. Before we get into it, we should say a lot of this video comes from a series led by Robin Wigglesworth over at the Financial Times' Alphaville blog, so go and check that out if you want to know more. Anyway, let's start with some context. For most of its independent history, Jamaica was in some sort of economic crisis. While there was some pretty solid growth in the first decade after independence in 1962, once the oil price shock hit in 1973, GDP growth and income stagnated, unemployment rose, and crime became endemic. Wealthier, educated Jamaicans started leaving the country in ever larger numbers, triggering a so-called brain drain and pushing Jamaica's economy into a downward spiral. Despite this, the government kept on borrowing, pushing Jamaica's...
So I just want to say something quickly on that, on like the brain drain. I know that's something that we talk about a lot here, and that is a big concern, losing Jamaica's best and brightest to developed nations, and them, those folks who fit into that category go and further help develop those countries and contribute more. But I hope that we are reaching the precipice in which that is starting to turn around, and that we start to retain that talent. And I don't think we're necessarily there yet, but especially like, we talk about, which Jamaica is not the only one that's suffering from this, but we're talking about like the teachers and nurses specifically that we're losing to other nations because of their shortage, because they can pay more, that sort of thing. But I do hope that we are working towards and moving towards a situation where this is becoming less prevalent and people are seeing more economic and hopefully even lifestyle opportunities by staying here. But I just found that interesting that was part of the history back in the day.
His debt-to-GDP ratio up to, frankly, silly levels. It often rose above 100% of GDP and peaked at 212% in 1984.
This is my salary for my online job that I have working for a USA-based...
Again, sorry for the ads.
Dangerously high for basic in 1984. This would be dangerously high for basically any economy, let alone one as poor as Jamaica, which had a GDP per capita of just over $1,000 at the time. Just servicing this debt, i.e. paying off the interest, often accounted for more than half of all the government's revenues, and it looked like Jamaica was stuck in a debt trap. Even though the government pursued a policy of massive austerity, they were unable to reduce the overall debt burden, because recurring interest payments just kept them pinned down. This meant that Jamaica was constantly going to the IMF for bailouts, even though many Jamaicans thought the austerity measures required to get access to IMF funding were both cruel and ineffective, evidenced by the fact that, well, Jamaica had to keep going back. Nonetheless, in the late 2000s, with its debt...
So I just want to be clear on the language here, which austerity, and I looked this up to make sure that we are all on the same page. But basically, it's fiscal policy that can be very, very unpopular, especially by citizens of a nation. But essentially, it's the government cutting spending, reducing funding for public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure, to raising taxes, increasing income taxes, sale taxes, or other forms of taxation to boost government revenue. 3, reducing public sector salaries and benefits, cutting wages, pensions, and benefits for government employees. 4, limiting social welfare programs, reducing financial support for programs like unemployment benefits, housing subsidies, and healthcare assistance. And, obviously in doing so, like, that is a huge, huge sacrifice for a country to go through and for the citizenry to go through, especially for an extended period of time. And for, it's a huge political sacrifice as well. When you think about it, I will say, like, how politics are set up, it doesn't incentivize a particular administration to think long term, and it comes at a political sacrifice. It comes at a national sacrifice, but it's something that obviously had to be done in order to get Jamaica out of its current situation. And you look at, like, the US, right? And in that example, with it being there not being an incentive for any political party president to think long term. And in the US, so, like, all they do is kick the can down the road, and all they do is continuously just adding trillions and trillions of dollars to the national debt, and nobody really taking it on. And it's just interesting. And I think it's good that we're not doing that, and yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. It'll go into that a little bit more, but let's keep rolling here.
Debt to GDP ratio rising, Jamaica went to the IMF once again. In February 2010, the IMF approved a $1.3 billion loan, and the program started off surprisingly well, with the fund noting in its first review that every target had been hit and growth was better than expected. However, the Jamaican government's cack-handed attempt to extradite gang leader Christopher Dudas Coke brought everything crumbling down. Coke was Jamaica's most powerful don, who basically ran the neighborhood of Tivoli in Kingston as his own personal fiefdom. Everyone in the neighborhood called him president, and Jamaican police had to ask him permission to enter. When the US first requested his extradition on drug and firearms charges in 2009, Jamaica's then Prime Minister, Bruce Golding, who also represented Tivoli Gardens as an MP, tried to tell them that it was a bad idea, but the US insisted, in part because they suspected Coke was funding Golding's party. Coke then turned Tivoli into his own personal fortress, with barricades and armed sentries, and the ensuing shootout, where Jamaican security services used helicopters and fired mortars on a residential neighborhood that still held thousands of civilians, was a bloodbath. Over 100 people, including a large number of civilians, were killed, and there were reports of extrajudicial assassinations by the security services. Politically weakened, Golding tried to bolster his popularity by increasing public spending, violating the terms of the IMF's agreement and pushing up Jamaica's debt to GDP. In late 2011, Golding was forced out anyway, and his centre-right Jamaica Labour Party government was beaten in a landslide by the more left-wing People's National Party, the other big party in Jamaican politics. With debt nearing 150% of GDP, the PNP immediately went to the IMF for yet another loan. The IMF were understandably hesitant. This would be Jamaica's 15th IMF loan, and the last one had collapsed barely a year in. But after a year of intense lobbying, in 2013, Jamaica finally received a $2 billion lifeline. Everyone thought the program was doomed. It demanded crippling austerity in a country that had a long history of fiscal incontinence and was already running a primary surplus of around 5% of GDP. However, that's not quite how things turned out. Jamaica successfully made further cuts to government spending and regularly ran primary surpluses between 7 and 8% of GDP. Jamaica's debt-to-GDP ratio duly fell from 147% in 2013 to 72% in 2023, with further declines expected in the coming years. Unemployment and poverty have fallen to rates expected in the coming years.
Sorry, I don't want to brush that over. I mean, that is huge, you know, that, and it's going to talk about the implications of that in a few short moments here. But, you know, we've talked about this before, like coming down so far from this high debt to GDP ratio, and then also looking at the projections going forward. And it's such like a difficult, it's such a difficult position to be in from a leadership standpoint. We talked about the austerity before and the sacrifices that not even the political sacrifice, but even the national sacrifice that the people had to go through. And I saw somebody in the comments put ban your belly, and that is a real thing. And like even now that I've heard a few of the prime minister's speeches talking about Jamaicans having had made great sacrifices to get to where we are. And to me, this is exactly what he is referring to. And you know, you look at the austerity measures that are in place, right? That were in place, and some of them still in place right now. And you have to make a decision as a leader. Do you put yourself in more debt to, say, roll out another hospital, or to roll out this or roll out that to make you look better like you're doing something? Or do you ban your belly and pay back the loan and get yourself out of this debt and really have like high fiscal discipline and make that sacrifice in order for a better, brighter future? And sometimes the constituents don't care. You know, sometimes that doesn't matter to them. They want something to happen now. They want something to happen immediately. But as we're seeing here, the sacrifice is like so important to make in order, and you just have to play the cards that you're dealt, right? You really do have to play the cards that you're dealt. And it seems like it's paying off. Like, and it's hard to argue that it's not paying off.
Unemployment and poverty have fallen to record lows. Inflation has been tamed, and in 2020, Jamaica formally exited its IMF program. It's hard to overstate quite how incredible this is. Very few countries run surpluses, let alone ones representing 8% of GDP, and debt ratios are rising across basically the entire world. This austerity did limit growth to an average of about 0.75% a year, but that's risen to more like 2% today. So how did Jamaica pull this off? And are there any general lessons for other debt-addicted governments? Well, some of this is down to the usual stuff. Jamaica had some pretty strict fiscal rules, adherence to which was monitored by an independent body. The Jamaican experience is also another data point to suggest that anyone who wants to bring their debt-to-GDP ratio down should focus more on spending less rather than growing more. But the big lesson for
that's exactly the point that I was trying to make. It's hard to initially getting into politics, right, and being leader of a country or a constituency, whatever. You want to make moves. You want to show that you're able to build a hospital, new roads, bring in this program, et cetera, but you can't do it without funds. We can't do it without money. And if you're in a situation where you owe more money than you're making, right, and you want to increase that debt, is the only way you can do it. And then to look at that possibility and say, no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to start paying this debt off and get us out of here. And I want to also talk about, somebody's asking what does this mean for investors. I also want to talk about what that means for Jamaica globally as an investment opportunity, which we'll get into after the video.
From Jamaica is the importance of cross-party consensus. In other words, this only worked because both the big parties in Jamaica, the JLP and the PNP, agreed it necessary to happen. The JLP actually took over from the PNP in 2016, but they stuck to the same fiscal rules and didn't weaponize the issue politically, like, say, David Cameron and George Osborne did in the UK.
And I think this is probably one of the biggest takeaway points here, is the ability and the conscious decision for both parties to work together. And as I've been saying before, many times, like, it's so important that you have a strong opposition, regardless of who is in power. And then what's also important to that, secondary to that, is that you have the ability to put party politics aside and put the country first, right? And instead of like, I'm like, I was going to use the US as an example, but like instead of like discontinuing a program or discontinuing a promise or discontinuing something that is doing so well or going so well just because another party started it, or just because it may not make you look good or may not favor you, it's a terrible way to run a nation. It's a terrible way, in my opinion, to be a leader. And like the video is saying, like saying here, it's impossible to do without having not necessarily consensus, but basically both parties working together and say, hey, we're going to build this country and we're going to be the best country that we possibly can be. And we're going to really reach our full potential no matter what it takes. And we're going to work together in order to make that happen.
Cross-party consensus is necessary here because without it, the other party would just use the newfound fiscal space for fun stuff like tax cuts or more spending, which would make sustained surpluses impossible. This is sort of what's happened in the US. Neither party is even talking about the deficit because they suspect the other one would just abuse any newfound fiscal space, which is what George W. Bush did with his tax cuts after Clinton's successive surpluses in the late 90s. Now, this cross-party consensus was made possible in Jamaica by some very specific political conditions, including the existence of a multilateral discussion forum called the Economic Programme Oversight Committee, which was set up years ago to deal with class divisions and political violence, and the fact that ordinary Jamaicans are far more wary of national debt than most electorates, thanks to their difficult history with it. Nonetheless, even if this is not easily generalized, this should still be an aspiration for other debt-addled economies. Fans of TLDR like you care about understanding the world around them. That's where today's sponsor...
All right, and that's the video. The rest of it is just an advertisement for the sponsor. So yeah, go ahead, and I'm gonna again put it in the comments. Want to make sure that they get some credit there, and if you feel compelled, yeah, go ahead and subscribe to them. They do some great work, obviously. And so yeah, I mean, Jamaica has a lot to be proud of, and I want to make sure, I think it's so important that we recognize these things and we understand where we're coming from. We kind of can forecast where we're going. And, you know, a lot of people, a lot of Jamaicans, especially Jamaicans abroad, really put down Jamaica and say, we're not going anywhere, we're not doing anything. But and this has been for the existence of Jamaica, but at least since I've been an adult and been living here and been paying attention to these sort of things. And it's a slow moving situation. There's no question. And it can be an extremely frustrating situation. I mean, I've been talking about the roads from Montego Bay to Negril, and I'm not making an excuse. Like, don't get me wrong. Like the road needs to be fixed. But nonetheless, it's like when you look out a little bit and you look back where we're coming from, I mean, we're doing phenomenal, and we're objectively being recognized by this and what we're doing. And as you can see, as we just watched, we're being used as an example as a country who has come back from one of the worst financial situations imaginable. And we are doing well, and we're continuing to do well, and we're continuing to be on this path of prosperity. And we have to pat ourselves on the back, We've done a phenomenal job, and leadership has done a phenomenal job. And both parties, again, coming together, working together in order to make this happen. Where again, now in the opening of the video, he said, we are the Germany of the Caribbean, which is crazy. And I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves as a country and as a nation. And I get it. I understand. There are a lot of frustrating things that are happening in Jamaica. There are a lot of frustrating things that we see, especially when it comes to efficiency, bureaucracy. And many of us have no experience abroad and in different countries, and lived different places all around the world and continue to do so. And we know there are just better ways of doing things, and we don't have to operate in XYZ way and XYZ situation. And so I understand that. I also understand especially when it comes to, the crime and violence situation, very, very understandable, very, very frustrating. And we want things to happen now. We want changes to happen now, but it does take time. And we do, as I always say, like, we do have to demand these things as citizens, as tax-paying citizens, and we have to push both sides to make this happen. But definitely worth the pause and what we're doing, and recognizing what we're doing and how we got here. And this is kind of a little off the cuff, but there's this book called, I forget the name of the author. It's a Swedish author, but it's called Factfulness. Has anybody read that book? And the author basically talks about just how, when you look at the global statistics of just how great the world that we live in today compared to centuries ago, 50 years ago, and he goes through all these different statistics, and he basically puts in perspective of just like how good our lives are as humans compared to 10 years at the time it was written, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and how it's exponentially getting better and better and better. And sometimes I think we pay too much attention, or at least don't give perspective, when we are seeing headlines and we are seeing the worst of humanity happening, not just in Jamaica, but around the world. And we don't necessarily give like full context and understanding that things are a lot better than they were 50 years ago. Things are a lot better than, I'm not saying in every capacity, I'm just generalizing. Like a lot of things he was talking about was like mobility, healthcare, income, that sort of thing. And it's a really, really, really great book. I'm going to put the link here. Really, really great book, and it does give you a lot of perspective. Hans Rosling, that's his name. I'm gonna throw an Amazon link in there. It's not an affiliate link, but you can go ahead and check it out. Well, that's a long link, but okay. Great read, great read. All right, let's hop into some comments here. Let me see if I go up to Trevor White says, airport, great news. Absolutely. Max Rami says, thanks for educating the people, bro. It's very important because fake bloggers are making the economy look bad. It's hard to make the economy look bad. It really is, especially like, and yeah, if you compare us to like the US or something like that, perhaps, but like, let's compare ourselves to ourselves at this point. And we're doing good. We really, really are. Rocky says, I saw this yesterday. I realized he never spoke about the debt swap, which was the turning point of the country. I don't know about that. I will have to look that up. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Rocky? Fiona says, I remember back in the day when, this is the one I saw, Banya Belly. Wendell says Jamaica should go to BRICS. I think I remember like maybe last year. I think that was in discussion at some point, but I don't know how where things are with that. Lee says, what does this mean for investors? I'll get back to that. I saved your comment. I'm gonna get back to that. Big Boy says Jamaica is Western puppet state. Jamaica highest court should be in Jamaica. USA dictate Wagwan. No, our highest court is across the pond. I mean, and remember, we're getting there. We're getting there in terms of really being our own completely sovereign nation. They are doing what is it called? Somebody help me out with the Constitution. So it's a long process, and I know one of the main things that the Prime Minister was talking about with this is this: like, he wants complete consensus in this constitutional reform. Sorry, that's what it was, and he wants both parties to completely agree on this, because this is really nation building like no other. Like, almost, I won't say, obviously we got our independence in 1962, but like, I'm not saying we're starting a new country, but in a big way. it's almost like starting a new country. And he understands the gravity of this situation, and he wants full consensus. And I think that's so important, just like this situation that we just talked about with the full consensus on fiscal policy by both parties. And without it, man, that's when you, I'm not going to give examples of other countries. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Jeff says, first thing to do with IMF money is to buy back JPS, a company profiting 60 million US dollars, a company that would rather pass on the losses from power theft to its customers. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot to say on that. I think there's a lot of different, what would I say, solutions that should be considered in terms of that. And I would love to hear, what are some of the things like long-term plans with JPS and in terms of that, because Jeff is right. A lot of the theft that is happening, a majority of the theft that is happening, the paying customers are actually paying for, and that is contributing to the extremely, extremely high electricity bills that we are suffering from here, as well as the old refinery equipment that is used to make electricity. Sean says, putting pride and ego aside and come together to do what's best for the country. Absolutely. Alexander Campbell DeMarcus says, we don't need another airport. We need the road to be fixed. It's a lot easier to fix 60 miles of road than building out an international airport. Perhaps, but I think we need both. We need both. And there is a program. I believe they're actually going to start spending right now. What is the name of the program? Can somebody help me out with that? There are literally billions of dollars that have been earmarked to building, fixing, repaving roads all around Jamaica, not just main roads, but like I'm talking about lanes and that sort of thing. And so again, to be competitive, to be in a competitive global hospitality market, we need both. We need both. We need to be able to, hey, if somebody is willing to spend an extra few $100s to fly directly to Negril, and we're going to recoup that money in a big, big way, we should have that option. And if somebody who doesn't want to do that and will take the highway from Montego Bay to Negril, yes, and that is coming, and can get to Negril in say half an hour and 45 minutes instead of 15 minutes, I think there should be both options, because when we look at other travel markets around the world, they have those options. And I know I'm kind of putting it in the perspective of it being a luxury, but it's more of a convenience, and people are willing to pay for a convenience. And as I said, Jamaica is moving into, I truly believe, from all of these investments coming on board, private investment, public investments that the country is making, and you see the handwriting on the wall. I mean, Jamaica is going after a premium market. I mean, it's hard for anyone to convince me otherwise. And I'm talking about a premium vacation market, a premium residential market, a premium retirement market, a premium playground market. I truly, truly mean that. And we're seeing it with many, many, many developments right across the board. And in order to appeal to that market, you need to have the amenities that complement it. And having an airport that is 15 minutes away from your villa, your condo, your 5-star hotel, and beyond is very, very, very important. And when we look at other markets that offer this, we're going to become less competitive. And we also got to remember, we have to remember that Jamaica has so much more to offer than many of our competitors, not only in the Caribbean, but around the world. So much to offer. I'm going to put, I hate to what you call it, self-promote here, but actually I don't. But I just put out a video over the weekend, and it was by, maybe we'll watch it in a second. It was the keynote speech last year at Throp-X 2023 by Dr. Carrie Wallace, who is the executive director of the TEF, which is the Tourism Enhancement Fund. And he goes into why I'm actually, we're probably going to watch it right now. But he goes into, I'm going to throw it in the comments here. He goes into essentially how blessed Jamaica is and how well we are doing. And we're doing, and I begin to think that like the leadership of the country like really understands what we have to offer in the market. And I know I see it. I know I see it when I travel to different countries, when I do different tourist attraction in these different countries, these different cities, these different villages all around the world. And I look at Jamaica and I say, oh, we have so much more than this. We're so much better in this aspect and in this realm. And when you look at like especially like the natural topography and natural beauty of Jamaica, it is so hard to compare with the mountain. There's some places that have mountains, but don't necessarily have the rivers that we have. There's some places that have the rivers, but don't necessarily have the beaches that we have. And then when you come to like the raw culture of the people, the music, the food, like there are not many countries that have like these crazy triple, quadruple, quintuple threats that Jamaica has. And we have so many like fundamental threats that it cannot be replicable. You know, you can be this city or this attraction, this country that has the greatest train system. You have the best airport that we've been talking about, and you're able to fly in close, and you have great roads, and you have these 5-star hotels and all these amenities. What you can't duplicate the culture here. You can't duplicate our music. You can't do it. You can't duplicate our beaches. You can't duplicate our water. You can't duplicate our mountains. You can't duplicate our rivers. And then like we have all of this, but the thing is like we haven't been able to reach like the full potential and really exploit it. And I don't mean this in a way that is exploitory in taking away and the people here not benefiting from it. But when you compare us like in this raw way, there are not many places that have what we have in a big way. And I think the leadership understands that, and we're not, and because of that, we haven't cheapened ourselves and we haven't sold ourselves out. And we're taking our time, at least this is the way I interpret it, and at least this is the way that I look at it. We're taking our time to develop our own and to build out slowly and to do it the way that needs to be done. And I think once this stuff is built, I mean, imagine we have that you're able to get, say, from Montego Bay to Negril in 30 to 45 minutes. That's crazy. Imagine you're able to fly into Negril, get through customs, and you can be checked in at your hotel in 15 minutes. You can get to your hotel. Crazy. Imagine when the crime rate comes down. Imagine when all of our roads are fixed and we have the same brands that like the luxury brands or whatever we have the Bahamas have and that sort of thing. And we have this elevated level of a shopping experience, because Jamaica, we don't have that. We don't really have a shopping experience in the sense of coming here for the sake of shopping and spending money on whatever it just doesn't exist. Imagine when our tariffs become lower, our imports become lower. I mean, we're going to be off to the freaking races. And I mean, I feel like we already are in a big way. I really feel like we're already are in a big way, but it just really shows and speaks to the potential that we really have. I'm going to play this video real quick. We'll play the first few minutes. Sorry if you've seen it already.
The #1 wedding destination in the Caribbean, Jamaica. #1 honeymoon destination. Any guesses? Jamaica. You got that yet? When you think about a country, its opportunity, its potential, and you look at global trends, Jamaica is right in sync. In terms of looking at Jamaica as an investment destination, I believe not only does it have all the ingredients that you will need to have a very successful return on your investment. But I believe the timing is perfect as well. So let me start with the first one. Why is Jamaica a great place to invest in? So when you think about a country, its opportunity, its potential, and you look at global trends, Jamaica is right in sync. In fact, the term we use in Jamaica, we say we're in the red. Meaning, the fastest growing industry in the world right now is tourism. Fastest growing industry. It will soon surpass every other industry on this planet. Meaning oil, gold, silver, diamond, copper, tourism and travel is going to surpass them soon. Now, what that means, in fact, the numbers are, we have 1.4 billion travelers right now on the planet. Within 2050, it's going to add another billion travelers based on the trajectory. So what it means is that from an industry's perspective, we are on that wave of the fastest growing industry. So just think about the others, think about the oil industry. Some of these sheiks that make money from oil in Saudi Arabia and so on, they own football clubs. They pay the top players. They're the wealth above it. I was reading an article the other day and it said one of these sheiks had a silver Benz. Not a silver colored Benz. It's Benz made of silver. So that's the kind of money I'm talking those guys have. Tourism is going to surpass that industry. So you must start looking around then to say, where are the ones who have the oil wells? In quote, meaning where are the tourism superstars? Maybe not currently superstars, but potentially ready to become superstars. Now, Jamaica, I would argue, is there in terms of already a superstar in the tourism world globally, but is poised to be even better, even bigger. I dare say we will be the #1 destination in the world. The #1 destination in the world. Why would I say that? What makes a tourism destination amazing? All right, so let's start with the region, the Caribbean. Do you know that the Caribbean has the bluest, it's a region with the bluest waters on the planet? Bluest water. So if you start thinking about a leisure vacation, automatically you gravitate to the best, the bluest waters. In fact, the survey, the forecast of forward bookings or forward searches for travel has shown that the Caribbean has come out top in the world for 2023. Not only does Jamaica have countless mountains, I even Googled how many mountains does Jamaica have. And they came back and said like 300 and something mountain ranges. They can't even tell us how many mountains we have. When you add up all the natural resources, so here we have mountains, rivers, valleys, waterfalls. Negril Beach always ranks in the top 10 best beaches in the world. The Milk River Spa is the 4th most potent mineral spa in the world. The Blue Mountain Coffee in the top 10 best in the world. Our ginger is one of the strongest in the world. Our black castor oil is the best in the world. Duns River Falls is the #1 attraction in the Caribbean. The #1 wedding destination in the Caribbean, Jamaica. #1 honeymoon destination. Any guesses? Jamaica. You guys tired yet? And so it makes it easy for us in tourism to market Jamaica.
All right, Dr. Wallace really made my point. really made my point. And he's speaking facts here. And I see some people in the comments already talking about the different experiences in different countries. And it's just so crazy that we have all of this going for us in such a big way. And it's something that we should definitely not take for granted in any small way whatsoever. All right, let's get to some And please go like the video. Please like and share that video. We need to get those numbers up. All right, let's get to some more comments here. Jamaica says, Jamaica export physical goods to the U.S., not to mention our blood, sweat, and tears. And all the USA does for that is reward us with printed paper that isn't backed by anything. I would love, speaking of exporting goods, I would love to see more manufacturing and export in Jamaica. But in order to do that, we need to get these utility costs down. Let's see. Lee X says, having a bigger hub would create better flights, non-stop flights, and more affordable flights. I do agree that the roads also need to be fixed. Hutchinson Johnson says, big of yourself, brother Throp. My Jamaica makes some big change. I can see, Peter V says, I can see you have a passion for economics and finances and necessary evil, but reading a book on economics is about exciting as watching paint dry. Hey, I'm a finance major. We had to do a lot of economics, but yeah, economics is definitely not my favorite subject, but very important. Rocky, thank you for this. Rocky says, Ollie Shore did a debt swap, which the IMF and Peter Phillips did a debt swap too. Gotcha. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. That's what you were referring to earlier. Let's go. Alexander says, they also want to hide the fact that the majority of the population living along the highway are desperately poor and living in shacks. So they floated the idea, the airport as a Band-Aid fix. Is that the idea of Negril, or are you talking about Montego Bay? Spark program, thank you. The Spark program is talking about the fixing of the roads. This is the billions of dollars that I was talking about that are going into road repair in Jamaica, throughout Jamaica. Carlson says, Jamaica politics has certainly matured, where continuity from one party to the next is concerned. Problem, credit goes only to the last man, as Nigel Clark, the hero. No one speak of where it started. I think they don't say who, but I think this one speaks to it. Like it's showing that it started with the PNP, and then the PNP and the JLP working together, and then the continuation from there, as we saw in the video. Garth Adrian, great question. Can Negril market support an entire airport? Absolutely. We bring in, I think the statistic came out last year, 30% of the tourism revenue to the island. And that would, I personally believe, that would significantly increase if we had an airport coming in directly. Because again, think about it, we're losing the short-term traveler. The short-term traveler, for the large majority of short-term travelers coming to Jamaica, are not coming to Negril. Because for this very same reason I just explained, nobody wants to travel 3, 4, 5, maybe 8, whatever, however many hours, and then come for a weekend and then to drive 2 hours to Negril, an hour and a half to Negril, and then to do the same thing on the way back, having to get up early, leave early, get to the airport 3 hours early, and you probably are gonna leave Negril 5 hours before your flight. Well, I don't. I'm sometimes nick of time kind of thing, but most people, you're leaving at minimum 5 hours before your flight. Sometimes if you're taking a shuttle, it's going to be 6 hours you're going to leave before your flight, because the shuttle has to pick up other people along the way. So that's a significant amount of time being cut into your vacation. So we're not only would I believe that 30% would increase significantly in terms of the amount of money and revenue that we're bringing into the economy and into tourism. And yeah, I strongly believe that. Hutchinson Johnson, thank you for that Spark program. I appreciate that. Aaliyah says, we need to realize that we have and how to compete for the economical dollars. We deserve it. Absolutely. Garth Adrian says, just came from Cancun. Agree. Jamaica has more to offer than our competitors. Cancun and Punta Cana can't compete. I mean, they got the fancy stuff. Like, there's no doubt about it. I went to, this was 10 years ago, I think. Well, all right, not last year. I went to Tulum, and it was great. I spoke at length. I did a live stream on it, talking about the amenities that they have. We talked about the roads, the hotels, the experience, the service. Like, it's great. It's really, really, really great. But I'm not gonna say like that's all that they have. But then when you look again at what more that Jamaica has to offer, doesn't compare. Doesn't compare. All right, let's keep. And I don't mean to like jump on Tulum. I love Tulum. I'm going to go back to Tulum. I think there is a lot we can learn from Tulum. And yeah, I would recommend it. Like, I would recommend people go. Like, I truly enjoy it. But like, from a competitive standpoint, I know where we stand. They may be better than us in certain aspects that we'll get to eventually, and I think we'll get there. But there are certain aspects that we are good at that they can't possibly compete with, right? And it's not their fault. It's just the reality of our countries. It's the reality of our towns. And one of them, I mean, this is a clear one. So they're on, I believe, yes, they're on the East Coast. If I have my geography right, I believe they're on the East Coast. And so anyway, they get sunrises, we get sunsets, and our sunsets are beautiful. I think I saw one sunrise when I was there, but then also their water is way more rough than like their water is not. It's still nice and warm like ours is, but they got waves and waves and waves. Whereas like Negril, it's a lake. It's a lake for the most part all year round. We get a little rough seas right now because of the hurricane that's in the Cuba area right now, but for the most part, our beach it's actually considered a bay. Long Bay and Bloody Bay, those are the two bays of Negril. And like a lake, blue, as Dr. Kerry Wallace just said in the video that we just watched, the bluest waters in the entire world. We are part of that ecosystem. And what does that allow you to do? It allows for different types of water activities, motorized and non-motorized. So you got canoeing, you got paddleboarding, and then scuba diving, snorkeling. People do what you call those. I was gonna say waterboarding, but not waterboarding. But different activities that you can do. Parasailing, like none of that, fishing, none of that was available in Tulum, or at least I didn't see it available. Like it's not like Negril Beach where there's a lot of people on the water, a lot of people in the water, because like they have like really, really rough waves there. Still nice to go into, but like you can't see your feet. I can tell you that. Walk out on any given day, except for today because of the rough seas. But you can look down and you can see your toes any given day of the year for the most part. And so these are the type of things when I say we have an incredible competitive advantage to them because they can't duplicate that. They can duplicate a 5-star hotel. They can duplicate nice roads. They can duplicate what else can they duplicate? But you get what I'm saying. You understand my point. And so we have a lot of advantages in that regards. Lex says, I meant modernity. Maybe I missed what you're saying. I truly think that Jamaica has the potential to be better than Tulum. Yeah, I'm without question. And Puerto Vallarta and even Costa Rica. I wholeheartedly agree. Reed Wright says, why are people destructively criticizing without offering a worthwhile alternative argument? The person who is saying the island doesn't want another airport. We need better roads. Most of the roads are, I think your comment guy. Okay, there we go. Are very good. The distance from Montego Bay to Negril is very long. When you travel a long distance, you don't want to take 2.5, 3 hours to reach your destination, sitting in traffic for what seems forever. Great point. Yeah. I agree. Like making a point, like why shouldn't we have an airport, right? And like I said before, I think we can have an airport and good roads. I think it's necessary for us to be competitive. I think it's necessary to create this convenience for not only our visitors but people who live here. Imagine the amount of business that's going to open up. Like people can fly in from Miami, do business, and then go back. And I mean, imagine you could like. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I feel like people do that, live in South Florida and work in Kingston and vice versa, right? And you can get a contract and you can hire somebody with, say, a consultant that's able to do that because it's right there. If you're living in certain parts of the Kingston, you can get to the airport very quickly, very quickly. We don't have that opportunity here in Negril. Red Stripe says, Throp, you're right that Jamaica is improving and has more potential. But if the majority of citizens don't feel the same economically, the government to do more to promote the good works. I agree. And I said this before, and I've criticized, the current government about that. As like they did. I think they're starting. It's starting to turn around. I don't know if they've been watching this channel or what, but they're starting to do a better job of showing what they have done, because I think, or at least not necessarily showing what they've done, but like it's so important to make the connection of either making these austerity measures that we were talking about before, about making certain sacrifices and what that means for the future. And like, no matter what, some people are just not going to care. Like they want something happen now, which we understand. And especially like if you're in a situation that's really bad, discomforting and essentially suffering, of course you want to get out of it as quickly as possible, right? But I think it's nonetheless, it's still very important to explain that process and why it's important if there is austerity measures being put in place, explaining that process. And then two is when you are making certain investments, it's important to connect the dots to the average person and what this either means directly or what this will mean eventually. And maybe it's a will mean, maybe not for them, the adult, but maybe for their children, maybe for their grandchildren. And it's important to make that connection. And I'm not saying that that's the solution. I just think it's important, especially from a historical standpoint, to make these connections very directly, and also talk about the good things that you're doing, or even the bad things that are happening, and say how you're addressing them or why they aren't being addressed in the way that you perhaps would like it to be addressed. Clarity says, "Hey, Throp and family, good to be alive in the grill with you. I just had a pizza that reminds me of San Francisco. I'm on a natural high being here during the first time of my life. Awesome, Jamaica. Awesome. Very happy for you." Leah says, "Our leaders need to travel more for themselves to see how other countries market their uniqueness." I agree. And I know I will say the Minister of Tourism travels like crazy. Like he's a busy dude. And like, I respect that about him. I really do. I think like all leaders, like not just like our political leaders, I think our business leaders, I think our managers of whatever company, I think it's so important to travel. So important to travel. And sometimes, I see ideas here play out because it worked in Hanover, so we're going to try it in Westmoreland, right? And you see that all over the island, excuse me. And you see that a lot in construction, some new construction that's happening here, both commercial and even with houses. You just like, man, have you opened up a Architectural Digest magazine, even if you haven't traveled? You know what I mean? To see what's happening, and even some designs, like some, what would I say, interior designs. I hate to be like so critical, like, but to me, it's like I see a lot of just wasted resources that you're not going to be competitive in a year or two from now, because you're using the idea of what was luxurious in 1989, and you're investing and you're using 2024 money to and make an investment of that nature. And so I believe that traveling really gives you this perspective, and not only perspective on design and what's trending and what's modern, but also on perspective of like what we talked about before with the expectation of service, the lack of bureaucracy, the efficiency of going into a shopping experience in a different part of the world. And so, and you realize like, man, that like the way if you're a business leader or a manager, like the way I'm doing is completely inefficient compared to this new place that I went to, this new country that I went to, this mall in South America, or whatever have you. And you start to like slowly, just by osmosis, like start making this part of your persona, and you just come back with a different energy. And I know it's a privilege to travel. I get that. I understand that for sure. But if you're in a leadership position, and if you're a titan of industry, so to speak, yeah, I mean, I would like to think that you have the means to do so, and I would encourage you to do so. And not saying like Jamaicans don't travel, like definitely do, but I would love to see more of it. And traveling around the world has been, I always say traveling is just the greatest human experience that you can really have, like other than probably going to outer space, right? All right, Lee says, though Arabs understand the power of those Arabs understand the power of tourism. That's why they are building all those things in the desert to diversify their economy. That's right, because oil is not going to be number one forever. Moses says, you just mentioned the beaches, but the people on the blood, sweat, and tear on the country cannot access. How is that possible? I've heard this before. I think I'm not saying that that's not happening, but when you look at the longest beach in entire Jamaica, which is here in Negril, public access, it will always be publicly accessible. And so there is, I can, like, as long as I'm here, like I will always be somebody who will say this is like paramount, this is important, this is Jamaica's beach, this is beaches for Jamaicans, and it always will be as far as I'm concerned. I know that there are some beaches that are being bought by I mean, look, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I mean, look at Princess Hotel that's in Green Island there. To me, I don't know if that was a beach that was formerly accessible by the public, but I'm not sure. I heard it, but there are beaches that are, when I say beaches, Negril Beach here, that is accessible. But to me, that 2,000 room hotel is bringing so much to the table, right? And we have to have economic development. We have to have development, especially in the hospitality industry, for hotels of that nature, and really bring in that market to Jamaica. And so, will there be sacrifices of that nature? Yeah, for sure, for sure. Is it fair to some people? Probably not. I don't know how to exactly compensate those folks who maybe missing out, but it's just like one of those things. It's not a situation where like Jamaicans have zero access to beaches and it's all being privatized. I mean, at least this is not happening here in the West, again, in the longest beach in Jamaica. Antoine Wilson is asked, who's this guy? Speaking Throp, that is Dr. Kerry Wallace. He is the executive director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, otherwise known as the TEF. TDC consultants ask, could it be that these countries share oneness in ethos, morals, objectives, values? They may not be natural resource as us, but their harmony, especially on a natural level, can't be denied and is appealing. Absolutely. And I see where you're going with this comment. I flew in yesterday and I ran into my Muay Thai coach at JFK flying in. And he's just coming back from Thailand. He was training out there for like 2 weeks, Muay Thai. And I was like following him on Instagram. And it just looks so amazing. And one day I want to go out there. I want to go out there and train for like a month or 3 months. I would love to do that. And anyway, one thing that he was talking to me about was just like the hospitality and the lifestyle there. And indirectly, he was like comparing it to Jamaica, and he was just like talking about this, how nice the people were, how welcoming they were, how warm they were, right? And it's such, and I've been to Thailand before, and it really, really is such a beautiful thing. And there is, like you said, like you're saying here, TDC, there's like a natural harmony that you feel there, and kind of everybody's on the same page. I get that also when I was in Tulum. Like, I mean, we stayed in a nice place and a couple of nice hotels for sure, but naturally, and everywhere we went, it was this warm, willing to help you. I feel the same way when I went to South Africa as well. When I was in Kenya, it's just like this natural warmness. And forget about it. Fiji, oh my gosh, forget about it. Like that's where my mother is from. I'm half Fijian, and the warmness and the natural hospitality is just there because there's this oneness. And here, not all the time. I mean, generally speaking, yes, Jamaicans are warm, they're jovial, they're welcoming, but then also, I mean, there's the other side to it. Like sometimes you don't know what you're gonna get. And I mean, we all know it. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Like sometimes you will just get attitude because that person is just having a bad day, something's going on at home. And I think that's where a lot of the inconsistencies in hospitality come to play here. And there isn't this, I mean, and a great point. There isn't this like this general harmony that you that you'll always experience here, that you will experience in those countries, right? And I mean, Thailand is probably a great example. And man, some of the warmest people that you'll ever meet, so welcoming, and they just have like a natural hospitality to them. And I'm not saying that Jamaica doesn't have that. I mean, we do, but then also, I mean, there's the other side of that coin. Come on, let's be real here. And I think it's obviously embedded in our culture in many ways. And unfortunately, like some people do feel that experience here. And I see what you mean, though. I see what you're saying, TDC consultants. All right, let's keep rolling here. Claire T says video is definitely a roadmap if anyone needs directions to get here. Home Squad Review says it would be nice to have the cities also linked via trains. I think eventually that is going to have to happen. Like there is going to have to be some sort of alternative public transportation system outside of vehicles and buses, right? Because man, I mean, we can only build so many roads, but we do need to get some cars off the roads for an equitable transportation experience, right? And it should be, and again, let's bring Tulum back into this, right? They also have a train system from Cancun to Tulum. Like if you're not going to fly in, I don't know what that is like. I forget what it's called. I don't know what that's like, what that experience is like, but I'm sure it's like brand new train system. I'm sure it's nice, right? And you look at like Europe and even New York City, right? Everybody takes the train. You could be a Wall Street multi-millionaire, billionaire. You're gonna get on that train. Like you're gonna get on that train. Everybody takes a train in New York City, and it's not even that great. I can tell you, it's really not even that great. But it's effective, it's efficient, right? And it's like you want to be hopefully put society in a position. Is it better for me to drive or to take the train? And is it faster than me to drive or take the train? And right now, if you have your nice car, right, and let's like put Kingston for example, you're not going to want to get on the bus. You'd rather drive your nice car to and from work and have the convenience. And you're not going to get on a crowded bus to go from point A to point B if you don't have to. But now, what if you're a 5-minute, 7-minute walk, 10-minute, 15-minute walk from a train station with that on a path that is nicely shaded, and you're able to walk in your suit and be cool because you have a lot of greenery. Go to the train station, take the train, a nice train ride to downtown Kingston, let's say, that'll get you there in a few minutes, as opposed to possibly sitting in traffic for long periods of time, that sort of thing. So anyway, I think trains is something that we will get eventually in our lifetime. I don't know, but I do think the way that just traffic in general is moving in Jamaica. I mean, Kingston, forget about it. I dread going there. Like I don't know how people in Kingston do it. The traffic is they're just used to it. They're just used to it. It's so crazy to me. So crazy to me. One of the worst places in the world that I've been to in terms of traffic. I'm sure there are worse places. I know they say Bali, Vietnam are bad. I mean, we could talk about New York City and LA all day, but man, anyway, I don't want to go back there unless I have to, even though I love Kingston. Everton says, how about those mansion designs that you just can't see any place, like Red Hill Road, Jacks Hills, and so many others? I'm not sure the context in which you're asking that question, Everton. If you can rephrase or help me understand it a little bit better. Sean says, are you aware if the government are leveraging with any of these big investors to do incentives, fixing roads, skills training to build on the island? I'm not sure. I'm not aware of any. The only thing that I do know of is that some of these hotels, and I don't know if it's something that the government has said that they have to do, but a lot of them are building housing for their employees, which is needed. I mean, man, we need housing like crazy in Jamaica, like crazy, especially here in the West. We need affordable housing. We need housing for our hospitality workers like crazy, like crazy. So outside of that, I don't know of anything, Shona, but I think it's a great idea. Jeff says, I came to Negril 3 to 4 times a year. Yes, I always head back to Mobay at least one day ahead. I mean, there you go. Great example. Great example. And I know a lot of people do that. A lot. I mean, and think about it. A lot of our guests who stay here at Travelers, they'll come for how many days, but they'll go to Montego Bay a day early, stay in a hotel overnight, and then fly out the next day. So they don't do all that traveling in one day. And then we, as the Travelers Small Business here in Negril, we lose that night of revenue because people are doing that. I mean, great. I mean, great for Mobay and great for the Mobay hotels. But just think about the psychology behind that. Think about the decision-making process to do that. Just gave us an example of that. Leak says, Tulum also has bad seaweed, the sargassum. I didn't really want to bring that up because, I mean, every few years, I don't think we had sargassum this year. No, we did. Sorry, we did have it one time. We did have a sargassum situation, which we had to dig trenches and put it in the sand. And it's annoying, but not like them. But who knows where the tide will turn, right? Will this happen to us at some point in time? What's happening to them? I mean, I hope not. But yeah, they have really, really, really bad seaweed sargassum problem in Tulum, and I think other parts of Mexico too, if I'm not mistaken. Dono says, I see that Judah will start offering Mobay to Kingston bus service like Nufford Express. Oh, awesome. That's great. Shardine says the modernization of Jamaica is moving at warp speed. The government needs to promote the necessity of change. Moses says, if we fix the violence and crime in our country, Jamaica will become the logistics capital of the entire world. I believe we're on the path to doing so and becoming so. Delroy says, I think the airport the airport should be second. The highway will help all the people, not just tourists. Yeah. So I want to say the highway is going to be first, because it's already started. And even coming in from, I still don't understand how they're doing it. I guess I got to look up these plans, but coming in from the airport yesterday, you see the road that they're doing and where the highway is going to come in. But like, I just don't understand like how it's going to work. And I know they already got it planned out. I just haven't looked into it far enough, but I do believe the highway is going to be, or at least already started. Who knows which is going to come first. And, keep in mind, like, this is not going to happen next year. I mean, if it happens in 5 years, if Negril gets an airport in 5 years, I would be very, very surprised. Very surprised. I mean, that would be amazing, but I would be very surprised. Donna says, talking about new businesses in Negril, Lee Issa investing in Sunshine Plaza, food court looking awesome. There you go. Yeah, very, very good. I did a video on that as well. You can check it out on the channel. Moses says, Beaches Act of 1956 guarantee all Jamaicans access to every beach. We don't use that anymore. I don't know about that act, so I can't speak to that. And I don't know about, I mean, obviously there are some beaches, like look at Doctor's Cave Beach, for example, like that's a private beach. I don't know the makeup of that or how they got to that, but it's always been private. And I don't know of people having a problem with that. But who knows? I don't know much about that. Sunshine says, you need economic gain, but the Jamaican people are not being paid a fair wage. And I always say, like, we talked about this before on previous podcasts. give context to that statement. Give context to that statement of Jamaicans not being paid a fair wage. What is a fair wage? What do you consider a fair wage? And we can take it from there. Joan Richardson says, "Hi Throp, I do agree. Negril really is in dire need of an airport. Period. We also need much better road ASAP and better driving education. Too much road rage. Disobeying road signs causes lives." I agree. And I always say, like, we don't talk about that enough. Like, I don't know where we stand globally as far as the rate of road fatalities that we have, but to me, it's far too high. I think it's crazy the amount of fatalities that we have, and a lot of it is because of indisciplined driving. I think a lot of it too, but I know they're working on this, is even the consequences of reckless driving, speeding. I think it just needs to be increased. I mean, people just really need to slow down here. Really, really need to slow down in a big way. I think the consequences of road accidents and fatalities, I mean, there's so many that I can think of, like personally, of people who have died because of road accidents and there being no justice at all. And the person, and I don't know this to be true, and maybe somebody can correct me on this, is that are people checked for drug and alcohol when they are in an accident? You know, are those tests being done? Are people being held accountable if they are under the influence? And I know Jamaica is a free country, and I mean, I've never been given the breathalyzer. I'm sure there is, but I just never have been. I don't know of anybody who's being checked for those things, but I do think being under the influence and also a combination of speeding is a reason why a lot of accidents happen in Jamaica. And those statistics, I don't think they're being collected. At least I am unaware of it. And I think there needs to be a pressure and a push for this in a big, big, big way. That, I mean, especially if you, man, you know, kill somebody under the influence, there should be consequences. People want to feel justice for their family members when these unfortunate things happen. But I think there could be there's a lot of opportunity to avoid a lot of these things from happening. And yeah, I think there's just too many of these fatalities happening. Again, context, sunshine. Too much Jamaican land is being sold to foreigners. I mean, give me some context here, because there are Jamaicans who have property. I mean, I look at you know, Throp-X. We got Throp-X coming up in less than a month, mind you, and we're going on a real estate tour. And as I said this before, we have the most amount of hotels that we've ever had on a real estate tour. We actually have to cut some down, and the majority of the hotels that are being sold by Jamaicans. And is that a bad thing? Who's going to buy it? Could be a foreigner, could be another Jamaican, could be somebody in the Jamaican diaspora, but it's an open and free market. And if a Jamaican is selling their commercial hotel property and somebody is willing to pay the market value or higher than market value for it, that is a Jamaican and a Jamaican family who is reaping a great benefit from that sale, regardless of who's buying it. And who are we to say that that shouldn't happen? Carlton says, not sure it's lack of travel by our leaders, but one of ineptness. Had this convo with an uncle in Jamaica who marveled at the lack of progressiveness by our ministers, considering how often they travel. Fair enough. I just think my point was, I think travel helps a lot, and it should, right? But yeah, if you feel your representative is just not capable of doing their job, that's a whole different situation. Graham says, what else apart from tourism? It is disappointing how little earnings from Jamaican tourism actually reach the local economy. Jamaica needs sophistication in niche product or service. I mean, I would say there's a truth to what you're saying for sure. And I always reference this study that was done. This is over 10 years ago. And it was hired, this consultant firm from Oxford. I believe it was Oxford. They came in and they did a study on how much small hotels were contributing to the national coffers, so to speak, right? And it showed that, I think it was specific to Negril. Don't quote me on that. I would love to find the study. I'm gonna actually ask around, see if I can find it. But anyway, it basically said that small hotels, which are majority of small hotels are locally owned Jamaican hotels and properties, were contributing more money, not as a percentage, but in dollar figures, more money than these larger foreign national companies were. And it's a fact because their, as far as I know, their bank accounts are in their home countries. A hotel like Travelers, our bank accounts are here in Jamaica, and our revenue is collected here in Jamaica. The taxes that we earn from people staying in Travelers at Travelers are here in Jamaica, and all of that contributes to the local and the national economy as well. And so you extrapolate that out to all the many other small hotels and guest houses here on normal Manly Boulevard and on the West End. And yeah, we're contributing a tremendous amount. We're contributing a tremendous amount, and those dollars are in fact staying here. And is there something more that we can do to have like more of that money stay here? I'm not sure. You know, Shauna brought up the idea of having more or having some sort of incentive for these large international properties to give back more to the community and to give back more to Jamaica and do more sustainable development. And so I don't know. I'm not in those rooms. I'm not in those conversations. I don't know what they sound like, but I think though that is a very good idea. Sean says, Throp, that's some great insight regarding testing for alcohol and substance uses for reckless driving. Also, drag racing seems to be a thing here as well, which doesn't help with the existing driving. Yeah, I mean, you guys saw you saw that very expensive car accident. I don't mean to laugh. I don't think anybody got seriously hurt, but that very expensive car accident on the, I think it was the North Coast Highway, if I'm not mistaken, where like there was like Tesla, I think there was a Porsche, some BMWs, some Benzes, and yeah, they seemed like they were racing. But yeah, that's also a big part of the culture. Drag racing, cars, supercars are now becoming a big part of the Jamaican culture in a huge way, huge way. Jay Fitz, what's going on? I thought I'm joining late, but does Jamaica use water taxis like in other countries? If this has been discussed, my apologies. No. Good point. Good point. I think there's a huge opportunity here, like even some sort of ferry system. I think, and I don't know how economic that is. Numbers would have to be ran, but it seems like a viable business. You know, the numbers would have to be ran, obviously, with the capital investment for these ferries or these boats or whatever they look like, plus the maintenance of them. How many people will take them? Again, is it more efficient to take, like for example, a ferry from Montego Bay to Negril as opposed to a bus, a car, whatever have you? Maybe. I think that would be great. I think that would be great if that happened. Donna says, I heard in the West End yesterday, trees were leveled to make room for 100-car parking lot. Interested to know what business that is. I don't know. First time hearing about that. I'll check it out. TDC Consultant says, would it make sense to examine what is affecting the vessels leading up to these access egresses ports before we build more ports? Did I miss something here? I'm not sure what exactly you're talking about. Sunshine says, I saw on another platform that Jamaican men were building houses and they had to work 7 days, but only being paid for 5 days. If they didn't show up for Saturday, Sunday, they would be fired. Not cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know who would put up with that. I mean, does that even sound like a Jamaican would put up with that? And I'm not saying that's not true or that's not happening or that isn't happening, but I don't know of anybody who would allow that to themselves to work 2 extra days without being paid. I mean, I mean, that's ridiculous if that is happening, but that doesn't really, that sounds fishy to me. Moses says, I've been living out of the country for 35 years. I left as a kid and I would like to do some investment. I would love to have a conversation with you. How can I reach out? Sorry, Moses. I mean, the amount of people that want to have a conversation with me, if I said yes to everybody, I would never get anything done, especially now with Throp-X coming up. I'm sorry. I'm unable to do that. I think the best situation here is, this is why I do these live streams. If you have a specific question, please ask me. I'm sure other people have a similar question or have similar inquiries, or just even be very, very specific. Or you can hop on our Zoom call, our Patreon call, which we do. It's group consulting, if you will. You're more than welcome to hop on and join those questions. But don't do one-on-ones. Just honestly don't have the time, unfortunately, to do it. There's too many inquiries with that. Shona says, what? No, didn't hear of it. That's another reason I'm delaying driving in Jamaica. Yeah, look it up. Look it up. It's a funny, it's again, I don't mean to laugh, but the commentary on the video there was just like, this accident is just, it's too expensive for me, or something like that. That says, some of the large Spanish-owned hotels bring everything from their home country, from furnishing to linens. Not purchasing anything from Jamaica, which I don't think should be permitted. So, and so that says some. And so that too, this is like, even us, like a lot of the stuff that we're doing is our furnitures. Even now we're doing a refurbishing project, like the carpenters and the carpentry team that we hire, plus like you're also happen to buy Jamaican lumber, like all done here. Sunshine says, I'm thinking of moving there, but never interested in taking any type of vacation. Is that possible? I want to move there. I don't want to take a vacation of any type. Is this possible? I mean, moving here, I think, is a great idea, but I do think, I always say it's important to spend an extended period of time here to understand where might be the best place for you to move and to live. I think that's very, very important to take the time. We've been almost going 2 hours. I only meant to go an hour. We're wrapping up here. I promise. I did not mean to go this long. I got to go to the gym. I got work to do. Shona says, Throp, you can help by signing up for Thropper's Think Tank Patreon. That's right. And yeah, if you want to, this is for you, Moses. This is what I was alluding to before. You can sign up on my Patreon. We do these monthly meetings. This is an old flyer, but you get the idea. We do it every month. If you want to hop on, this is Zoom call. This is a way for me to interact with you directly. And if you have like specific questions about, like you said, you're interested in investing and doing this and moving here, this is probably your best opportunity to do so, because I don't do one-on-ones. And you can join at patreon.com/Throp, and you can sign up there. Our next call is, let me see, for anybody that's interested, is November 9th. And we are definitely going to put an asterisk next to that one. I'm sorry for Think Tankers, because that is a week before Throp-X. So I will let you know in advance whether we're going to keep it on that date or move it back a couple of weeks. I'll move it up, maybe. I'll let you know. But yeah, you can join that, and I'll be more than happy to chat with you. Grim says, can you expound a little on hogs of the West End? You mean like the property? Hold on, let me make sure that we're all on the same page here. And so, just so everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. All right, quickly. Okay, so what Grim is referring to is Hog Heaven. And just so we have some context here, this is Negril. This is the 7-mile white sand beach. And then Hog Heaven is, you can either go to the West End, so you can either take the coast here and get there. So it's basically deep West End, or you can go through Whitehall here and get back there. And so this is basically hog heaven. All of this land for the most part is hog heaven. And this is where Jackie's on the Reef is. This is where West Ender is. What else is back here? Sunset Serenade is back here. And that's West Ender Inn. And, you know, a lot of houses are back here, very private, very quiet. We have some property back here. My family has some property back here as well. And we're not doing anything with what, like when I was a kid, as a matter of fact. But very, very nice. Jamaica High Life is here. This is actually where we're doing, if you are on the email list, this is actually where I can show it here. This is actually where we're going to be doing the all-white farewell dinner for Throp-X this year. Absolutely stunning, stunning property. I mean, let me see if I can show you. This is the view. I want to show you where we're going to be having the cocktail party. Let me see if I could find a picture here. So this is the old Coca-Cola heiress's house. I haven't been to here before it was taken over. They don't have it. But basically up here on the right, this is where we're going to be doing the cocktail party. They have a nice little, what do you call it? Just area to do that, which is perfect. And when we visited there last year, I was like, man, as soon as I got there, I was like, this is where I want it. This is a bad sideways picture, but these are the kind of sunsets that you can see from there. But well, yeah, when I first went there last year on the visit, the property visit, I was like, this is where I want to do the dinner this year. So anyway, this is hog heaven. And there's a lot of property back here for sale as well. Tons and tons of property. You can't really see it, but this, I want to say this is, do they have a topographical map? Hold on, let's see here. I'm looking for an elevation map. I don't think they do have here in one here. But anyway, this is like a top of the hill. Like, and as you go up these roads, it gets higher and higher and higher. And just beautiful views from all of these different roads here. Beautiful, beautiful views. And you can see it's a super, super low density. Not a lot of homes here, but a lot of big ones. Very, very nice. Very beautiful back there. That's hog heaven. All right. Sharon, hey there. What do you think about container home, prefabricated, galvanized steel approach to building homes in Negril and other parts of Jamaica? I think it's a great idea. And there are like some that are like more than a container. What do they call them? Like capsules being made out in China. This is something that I definitely want to explore. I think they're beautiful. A lot of them come with like great technology as well. Hurricane, I won't say hurricane proof, but they're built to withstand hurricanes. And I think they're great. And I think it's a great way to address the housing crisis that we find ourselves in. I think what would be amazing is like if we could set up shop here to do it. You know, I mean, I don't know the first thing they would do, but like the first thing to do, but like it's like how can you bring as much of that vertical to Jamaica, right? Where you can build out the capsules here and like get all the like import the raw material that you need, build out factories that you can just bang these things out. And would have to do the math on this. But that to me is a better way. So for example, you know, imagine these homes cost, I mean, I've seen some for like the good ones, I would say are like 40,000 US dollars, and say that's like, that's what it costs. 40,000. I don't know how much would it be to clear it. Let's say 60,000 to clear it. And then, all right, so that's to clear. So let's say that it's $60,000. Imagine you're able to make and produce them for, I mean, even 20,000. I mean, you could probably do it for less. You could probably do it for 15 or 20,000, 15,000 maybe. Let's see. I think that would, I mean, I think that would be great. Something to look into. I think it's a good model, good exercise to think like that. Janai, got my ticket today. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Congrats. Oh, Shauna took the words out of my mouth. Congrats, congrats. Looking forward to seeing you. All right. Jay Fitz says adult beverages would be sold on the water taxi, of course. A beautiful view of the island and feeling nice before guests get to their hotel. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. Grimm says I'm on the other side of that family, Orange Hill. I never got familiar with them, however. I see. Sharon says they make them in Jamaica at Kingston Logistics. Right. Okay. So I was thinking more the capsule, not the containers. Not that I don't like the contain. I mean, there are some really good containers, but the ones that I don't know if this is this company, but like the ones that I've seen here are very basic, and the ones that I'd like to see are the capsule that I'm speaking about specifically. I mean, they're not containers. They make them. I don't know if these are containers that they're doing, but man, the ones that I see are like very, very beautiful and super, super modern. And it's going to be hard to compete with the Chinese, man, because they are just mass producing these things. And it might just make more sense to work out a deal with the government to get these things with a low tariff and just start spitting them out. I don't know, but there's also part of me that says like we're eventually going to start needing to go up, like build more vertically. I know a lot of that's happening in Kingston, but I think it's better to do that sooner rather than later, right? But anyway, just kind of my mind just goes. Donna says One Love Brigade is also turning their shipping containers this year into Negril Resource Center for community use, computers and printer accessories. Awesome. You're welcome, Sharon. Okay, we are gonna leave it there. Again, went way longer than I expected. This was not my plan this evening. Anyway, we got Throp-X coming up. If you haven't got your ticket already, it's still possible. Tickets are going up in 3 days. Tickets are going up $200. So if you want to continue with the early bird pricing, you can go to Throp-X.com and you can lock that in. If not, they're going to be at a little bit more of a premium. But like I said earlier, things are going very, very well with the planning. Team is coming together and really, really excited. We're finalizing the property tour tomorrow, and speakers pretty much all are locked in at this point in time, and it's going well. I was going to play a trailer so everybody knows. And if you're unaware of what Throp-X is, I'm going to play a quick trailer, and then we're going to close out with some of the sponsors who are going to be at Throp-X. So thank you all for joining this Monday live stream instead of Sunday. We're going to be coming back again on Friday. I'm going to try and bring a guest on Friday. I don't know who it is, but I'll let you know. But that's going to be a dedicated Throp-X live stream. And thank you all for joining. I will see you on Friday. Enjoy the trailers and the movies that we got here. Peace.
Jamaica finds itself on a transformative journey. The government has committed billions of dollars to infrastructure improvements over the next 5 years, including highways, bridges, hospitals, and water systems. But it's not just the government. Major private sector investments are flowing into the country like never before. Billions of US dollars are being poured into residential projects and commercial developments. The economic indicators are undeniable, showing a positive path for Jamaica's future. Now is the time to be a part of this growth. You don't want to miss out on the opportunities unfolding before your very eyes. Enter Throp-X 2024, Jamaica's premier real estate and investment conference, taking place from November 17th to November 22nd in Negril, Jamaica. Throp-X is your portal to understanding the investment opportunities available throughout Jamaica. Learn from the experts driving Jamaica's economic success and uncover its potential for yourself. Whether you want to learn how to purchase property in Jamaica, network with top-tier practitioners, or explore what it's like to live and thrive here, Throp-X is the place to be. Join a community of like-minded individuals and be part of a group of potential investors ready to grow with you. Join us at Throp-X 2024, where all your questions about living, investing, and thriving in Jamaica will be answered. Secure your future, embrace the journey, and see you in Negril. Register now at Throp-X.com.
Our intent is to change the landscape of Jamaica, to put us on the map globally as we deserve to be. Our product is far more supreme than I see in other places where they have far less.
So there's 4 towers of the wildlife and birds around the development: the swallowtail, the canary, the hummingbird, and the phoenix. Each tower has its own level of amenities in terms of gym, lounge areas, pool, cabanas, concierge, tennis courts, basketball courts, golf simulators, cigar bars, cafes, restaurants.
In order to stabilize the construction, we drive concrete piles down into the ground to the tune of, this is 28 stories, 180 feet down below, in order to stabilize the building.
Now, everywhere is developed. So why we don't have, as a developed country, we should have something like Singapore, Dubai. I will do it first.
Welcome to Cocoa Palm Hotel Negril. My name is Kimisha Brackett. I am the sales and marketing manager here on property. At this property, we're a standalone hotel owned by a Minnesota family. We have 107 rooms on property. Our rooms catered for adults and kids. We have rooms with 2 beds. We also have suites, ocean view suites, cocoa suites, junior suites. We have 2 swimming pools on property, our family pool, which is a courtyard pool, and we have our adults on the pool. We'll also have a jacuzzi here on property. We have our restaurant, Marley's by the Sea restaurant, that caters for breakfast and dinner on a daily basis. We have our Marley's Beach Bar and Grill that caters for lunch. Come and walk with me. Let me take you to the beach, our beautiful 7 Miles Beach, right where we do most of our activities. We have our activities that we done daily. We have our cocktail party that is held every Monday at 6 until 7 right here on property. Complimentary cocktail for our guests and hors d'oeuvres. We also have our entertainment on Wednesdays and Fridays. On Fridays, we have a full cultural showcase, the fire-breathing dragon on property and a full cultural show. We have our spa on property. If you want to do your massages on the outside or indoors, we can do that for you. We also have a gift shop on property that caters for all Jamaican souvenirs. Whatever you left at home, you can get it in our gift shop. Come and enjoy the beautiful property, Cocoa Palm Negril, here in Jamaica.
My name is Daniel Grizzle. I'm the managing director of Shirella Inn, which is a family-owned and managed small 59-bedroom hotel situated right in the center of the famous Negril Beach. And I would like very much to invite you all to come and experience what life is like here in Shirella Inn, to be part of our extended family. Several of the rooms are just open, overlooking the beautiful Caribbean Sea, and you have tall, waving coconut trees to welcome you and keep you cool on the beach. And you have a warm and interesting staff here ready to keep you comfortable, to make you feel at home, and to enjoy that you stay happy and peaceful.